Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast presented by Amazon Prime. It's Tuesday night, late Tuesday night, May 20th, 2025. I'm J.E. Skeets coming to you from a tiny ass hotel room in New York City from a bed, and alongside me, as always, it's Tass Mellis.
When you said a tiny room, I had to wonder, how big is this bed? This bed is fitting us very well. Like, we fit perfectly on this bed.
Next to Tass there, it's the bearded one, my top shot hot boy, Trey Kirby.
Hey,
Hey, yo.
It feels weird to say it in a bed.
And making this type of magic happen, you've never seen it before done on an NBA podcast. We've got JD and we have Ash. Say hello, gentlemen. Yeah. Yeah. Here we are.
That's all we could find.
This is like John Lennon and Yoko Ono. We're here in the bed. Peace, man. We're here to talk about tonight's game one of the Western Conference Finals. Thanks for joining us live on YouTube. This is,
Big
again,
time, thanks, yeah.
This is a first. Take a screen grab right now. And if you're into feet, this is a good one for you.
Yeah, these are free. These are free.
Yeah, we can do some crazy feet stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe, podcast listeners, 5-star ratings and reviews. If you're listening to the podcast, come on over, check out the YouTube video. We literally have 3 guys just lying down in a bed because we got into the room and realized there's not enough space for us to sit
Not a
like
lot of
normal
seating.
people. So here we are. But we're talking about game one. Like I said, the Thunder beat the Wolves 114-88 in game one of the Western Conference Finals on the back of a 31-point 9-assist performance from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They were trailing by 4 points at halftime, Tass, but OKC beat them in the second half, 70-40. Hey, buddy.
I feel like I need to see your face, actually.
Let me lie down more. 70-40,
There you go,
Tass.
crisscross applesauce.
OKC took down the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I've got to call the front desk. I've got to tell them to come clean JD's bed after we're gone. I mean, we're here in I'm in airplane clothes.
APC. I agree. Not great.
Directly into someone's bed.
None of us showered when we arrived here.
Yeah,
We went
that's a good
straight
point.
and got tacos. Then we went to a bar to watch the game, and then we came right back here to JD's bed. What are we doing?
Odd night.
What are we here?
Odd night. Conditions were perfect for watching game one of the Western Conference Finals.
Also an odd game. A very odd game for the
that's right,
Minnesota
that's right.
Timberwolves.
Go on.
Well, I will say I've sort of developed this theory that Anthony Edwards is a bit of a LeBron in that he's a first game feeler. He likes to feel it out. And this game
Like
is
this?
a game. Yeah.
Cuddly.
Sorry.
That's exactly what he does. This is another feeler. He only had 5 points in the second half. It wasn't the ankle injury that he sustained late in the first quarter. He just went super quiet. He said they're down 4. Okay, so he was down 4 and they're up 10 at the end of the third quarter. But that's because no one was helping out Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. Randle had 20. Anthony Edwards had 18 at the end of the third quarter. They're still just within 10. It wasn't a blow up by any means. This was just an odd game because OKC didn't start well. Shai started 2 of 12. Chet Holmgren did this pregame interview. I think that threw him off. He did not look like himself. He was pulled 3 minutes into the game. Jalen Williams struggled in the first 2 for 8.
Yep.
They had a bunch of guys starting cold, but that's the beauty of OKC. You can start extremely cold, start bad, and their depth will come through. While Minnesota's not even close to coming through. Nobody helped out. Not one person. Not one person.
This was a complete tale of 2 halves.
Yeah.
Nobody played well for Minnesota in the second half of this game. The reason they were winning the first half was because Julius Randle went nuts. He made 5 threes in the first half. That was his playoff career high. At that point, OKC had taken 8 threes total. They were 3 for 8 compared to Minnesota shooting the lights out in the first half. Second half comes around. OKC turned up the defensive intensity. It kind of felt like Minnesota wasn't totally ready for that. Kind of the same thing happened in game 1 of the Golden State series. That had the Curry injury thrown in as well.
Yeah.
But the playoffness of the second half got to the Timberwolves, I thought, in game one of that series, and kind of the same thing here. When the Thunder got to the next level, Minnesota wasn't able to hit that level. They took Anthony Edwards completely out of the game. They took Randall completely out of the game. They forced everybody else to make plays. And as we're going to get into, Naz Reid, DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, none of those guys could make plays. Somehow the ball found its way to Gobert's hands so many times to start the second half. And you know that's a win right away for the Thunder. He started missing, turning the ball over. They yanked him out, and then it was just a parade to the rim for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, 0 for 7, Naz Reid from deep, 1 of 11 from the game. DiVincenzo, 3 of 12 from deep, 3 of 14 from the floor. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 2 of 9 from deep, 3 of 11 from the field. That's their 3 main bench guys that gave them nothing. Jalen Clark. Jalen Clark was arguably their best bench player tonight. Something you never want to hear if you're a Wolves fan, I don't think, here in game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. You know, he got early minutes and gave him a little bit of something, but it was just like these guys couldn't hit a shot, Taz. And we talked about this coming into the series. Like, these shots are going to be there. The Thunder allow these threes. They allow these corner threes, and these guys, like, for a majority of this game, cannot hit one.
Yeah, it was very odd. Yeah, we basically named everybody. Even Mike Conley was off tonight. It was a very weird night. So we've mentioned everybody from the starting lineup. But yeah, you mentioned Jaden McDaniels. What was really odd was he hit the first 2 shots of this game, first 2 possessions for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
He hit a jumper and a 3.
Yeah, right away. Bang, bang. And then he only hit 1 the rest of the game. They literally, you're right in that they decided to take away Anthony Edwards and make him pass the ball to Rudy Gobert, etc. But I do think they started to get a little too comfortable on the outside and not get into the paint at all. They literally couldn't score in the paint at all.
20 points in the paint for Minnesota, and
some of those were late.
Some of those were late.
Garbage.
Exactly. Naz Reid came late. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had a late layup as well. But
they started to drive a little.
You can't do that against the Thunder. I thought that there were times Minnesota was forcing the ball inside, oftentimes with Gobert. Definitely in the second half, the ball. You can't just try and force shots up against the Thunder inside. They're such a swarming defense that they're going to get a good contest on it unless you have a really good look at the rim. And then once they get the ball knocked out of there or grab the ball off the defensive glass, they're going the other way. The transition points were ridiculous in this one. 0 fast break points for Minnesota. Not a surprise. OKC, though, is able to run the other way. They got a lot easier offense. They shot close to 60% in the second half of this game. Minnesota stopped them in the first half. I think a lot of that was because they were daring OKC to shoot jumpers. They weren't making the jumpers, but eventually that kind of the tide broke open and Minnesota couldn't defend or score.
Yeah, there was that stretch in the second half where J-Dub's jumper started to fall. SGA started to get a little more comfortable from the mid-range. Kenrich Williams.
Back-to-back jacks.
Shout out to John Schumann. Kenrich Williams got into this game early, late in the first quarter, and then we saw him in the second half, and he hit a couple shots that sort of unlocked some things. And then their offense started to roll, and just Minnesota continually all night. I mean, just shot an absolute abysmal 34.9%. And that was bumped up a little bit, sort of in garbage time a little bit at the end. It was sub 34% for a majority of the competitive part of this game.
They did get a little too comfortable on the perimeter, and that's where the turnovers came from. OKC, that's what they do. They turn the ball over 31-10 on points off of turnovers for OKC. That's just way too big. You can't turn it over that much. And it just felt like Minnesota's players couldn't match the intensity. I mean, that's what happened. Okay, I'm sure Minnesota can come back out of this one and find little things to get furious about. The fouls called for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander were questionable. I know
early in the game there was a few questionable ones.
Oh yeah, sure. A ghost committed a foul and somehow they got the whistle on their side. They can be angry about that, and maybe they take game 1 and they watch all the film and they take that into game 2, but they did not start moving the ball enough. You're right in that Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo literally just couldn't hit shots. There's no doubt about that. But I thought it needed to be a little bit more inside, outside, rather than just a few passes on the perimeter to get everybody into rhythm, and that just didn't happen.
Yeah, there was nobody that could get the ball inside. They tried posting up Naz Reid a couple of times on J-Dub, stolen both times. Julius Randle never really got it going in a post-up scenario either. And then Anthony Edwards, whether it was just because of the defense that OKC was playing or because he tweaked his ankle once again, missed a bunch of time in the second quarter, he wasn't going to the rim the way he can go to the rim. A lot of that is because Caruso is such a great defensive player. Case and Wallace as well. These guys are major screen navigators. They were awesome in this game, fighting through, never allowing Anthony Edwards to actually get a good look at the hoop off a clean screen. They were never able to pick those guys off, which kept Minnesota out of the paint. So the 3-pointers they're generating, they're not good ones. They're kind of desperation ones. And they got too steadily. You're totally right on the perimeter. So yeah, they're going to have to figure it out. I'm with you. Some of the Shai fouls were ridiculous in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Disgusting. I generally believe it's okay to go to the free throw line a lot of times. It means because you can't be guarded. People can't stay in front of you. But a lot of these, the guys were in front of him. I think it was worse in the first half. I think he shot 2 for 13. It looked to me like he was playing for the foul, but then he came out in the second half, 7 for 13. Part of that's because McDaniels dealing with foul trouble, but he was playing to score in the second half.
Yeah.
Way more ethical, I thought, from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in half 2.
Yeah, it was. I thought the good thing about Shai, even in the first 6 minutes, he was trying to score. He was not good at being efficient at all. He started 2 of 12 again, but OKC just wasn't there. Chet Holmgren, again, a very bad start. Jalen Williams, very bad start. At least you had one guy trying with that sort of effort, bringing it. And he was lost. He wasn't himself, and the calls were definitely the wrong calls. It felt like he got to the line 25 times, just the way that he was getting to the line on a lot of bad officiate. I never like to really ridicule officiating, but this was easy to ridicule. I mean, there was just so many bad calls. He only went to the free throw line 14 times. It felt like 100, but he got so much better as the game went on, scoring from the floor. He just looked like the guy that can somehow, some way is able to split these double teams, to split 2 players and to get there, because he looked so fast and so sleek after a while. But I like the effort to start, in all honesty, because they were sort of lost.
Those were their only points. Their points were coming at the free throw line because of him.
Yeah.
And whether those were some questionable calls, yes, there were. He got Gobert on sort of like a pump fake and jumped into him. That was one of his first trips to the line. There was another one where he initiated all the contact. He got the call. Like, there's a handful of them. You remember those ones. There's other ones where he's getting fouled because guys can't stay in front of him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so it's like, it's, it plays tricks on your mind at times, but yeah, he still finished with 31, 9, and 5. I mean, like,
and look, to me, it comes down to, if you throw out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 14 free throws, they still are blowing out the Timberwolves in this game.
Point.
It's the defense that won the game.
Yep.
Yeah. And I thought Isaiah Hartenstein's 6 floaters that he hit in this game, I'm assuming they're all 6 floaters because I felt like it. He hit 6 shots in this game. Those 12 points.
Couple dunks for sure.
Yeah, that's true. They were key to keeping this team ahead by 10 at the end of the third quarter. That was sort of the difference. They had a third guy chipping in while Minnesota absolutely did not.
And he took care of the glass. I thought that was huge in the third quarter. I think no offensive rebounds for the Timberwolves in that quarter, and they were pretty good in the first half. They were just turning the ball over so much in the first half. They weren't really able to extend the lead, but they were also hitting the offensive glass. But Gobert wasn't really able to play much in the third quarter. He's supposed to be helping on the offensive glass. Suddenly, Minnesota, the team that looks like the bigger team, they didn't look any bigger than OKC did. And in fact, OKC was dominating inside. Hartenstein got a few dunks in the second half, had the floaters as well. Chet Holmgren found his way into the game, started dunking everything inside, running the court, making plays on both sides. The Bigs battle completely flopped in the second half.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, of the Thunder trio, like the 3 guys, they all like stepped up in the second half, right? Like J-Dub, 6 points first half, 13 in the second. Chet Holmgren, 2 points in the first half, 13 in the second. And then SGA, 11 points, a lot of those at the line in the first half, 20 in the second. Like, if you had to rank those, or if you had to pick one of them to ask, like, who impressed you the most, like the turnaround from the first 24 minutes to the second 24? I mean, they're all great, but was it Chet? Is it SGA?
It was Chet. I think Jalen Williams and Shai both were doing other things, contributing. Chet just sort of looked a little bit lost. I think he's got to take that pregame interview out of the repertoire. Literally doing an on-game interview 20 minutes before the game. It was baffling. I know it's nothing, but at the same time, he said it after the game. He did a pregame interview. He did a postgame interview. Postgame, he said, I stunk in the first half. So he did stink the most. He literally, when he came back, he had to sit after 3 minutes. Dagnall said, we have to pull you. He got back on the floor. He couldn't rebound. He wasn't fighting enough for rebounds. But in the second half, he looked like a new player. Although Jalen
those
Williams,
back-to-back dunks, it's sort of like, that's when the game started getting out of control for the Wolves.
the backline dunks. Yes.
Would you agree? Would you go Chet?
Oh, Chet
TK?
for sure. He looked completely outclassed in the first half. He looked like he wasn't going to be able to play in this series. They were hunting him on defense in the first quarter, and that's why they had to sub him out so quickly. So I thought for him to turn that around completely, he was kind of dominant at times, I thought, in the second half of this game with the back-to-back dunks, making plays at the rim, getting steals inside as well. That was like a fully realized Chet Holmgren in the second half. Exactly what you want to see from him.
So heading into the series, Trey, I know you talked about it in our preview. We've talked about it. It feels like everybody has talked about it. One of the big keys for the Wolves to be in this series is to limit those turnovers.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Especially those ones in the backcourt, and obviously are just, OKC running because they have that incredible ball pressure. But I think it was 17 turnovers committed, a lot of live ball turnovers, a lot resulting in easy OKC points going the other way. Some that they even missed, for being honest, and maybe took a second chance. But yeah, they have to clean up that, and then they just got to get some of these guys off the bench, or even Ant or Randall in the second half. Like, they got to hit shots. Like,
nobody did anything in the second half. Everybody played poorly for Minnesota in the second half.
Yeah.
I don't really know what they can look to be like, okay, we can build off this. Looking just specifically at the third and the fourth quarters, they have to be looking more so to the first half. But even then, they had as many made threes as they had turnovers. So it was like, okay, you are shooting the ball very, very well, but they should have had a bigger lead. They had 8 turnovers, I believe, at halftime. That was equivalent to what they were shooting from 3. And, you like the jump shots dropping, but you're playing sloppy on the other side. And eventually it's going to build. And OKC, when they get one turnover, they're looking for the next one right away. They really can amp it up. They really, they smell the blood. And it's just like, we know these guys are a little bit rattled, and we can get 2 or 3 steals in a row. And that's a huge momentum factor.
Unfortunately, we couldn't tell how loud it was tonight in OKC because we were watching in a bar with no audio.
Well, we had audio. We had Robin Thicke bumping through the speakers.
There was some
songs you haven't heard for 15 years. We heard them all tonight.
It was like a wedding DJ, wasn't it?
A little bit.
There was like Flo Rida and those type of songs.
Ash, what was your karaoke song that you heard? You said, "Oh, this is my karaoke jam."
Oh yeah, okay. We heard that maybe during the third quarter run from OKC, but yeah, always weird to watch a game with no audio.
Yeah.
I don't mind it at times though. You have to really tap into your other senses.
Mostly vision.
Yeah,
vision's the main one that you're tapping into.
Really,
sounds of the game doesn't hit quite as hard when you're watching.
We have no idea what Mark Daigneault was saying.
Like, these guys are talking
in any of those. I did see some people complaining about the ESPN audio. I don't know what was happening. Maybe they had their mixes wrong or something like that again. But
speaking of our vision, though, kudos to ESPN for that cool sort of shot chart. It showed the shot makes.
The actual player,
the player on the spot
instead
where he
of
hit
just
the shot.
X's and O's. It was like the actual motion of the shot of the player. I guess that was
animated
cool.
player. Yeah.
So there was a whole second insight feed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The inside cast.
This is was Legler and Kirk Goldsberry? Is that what people were saying? I guess. Okay, maybe that was better. If the audio was better on that one, those guys were smart. What else you got from this? I mean, we literally just to make this a competitive series, they're going to have to hit some shots and maybe take care of the ball and you said it about Randall. Randall he was keeping them in it once again, or had them in the lead in the first half. He had
played
20 points. He had 5 threes. He then he was pump faking threes in the corner that Hartenstein had to commit to, putting it on the ground, getting to the line. He was good until he wasn't. He disappeared in the second half.
He had 8 points in the second half. I mean,
he
needed help. He needed help.
Some of those were it was sort of
too
late. But I guess besides take care of the ball and hit some threes, is there anything else you're seeing here from Minnesota? Or I guess what I'm getting at is what you saw after 48 minutes. Are you like, ooh, this could be a quick series, and they're just outclassed this team?
They scored 88 points.
So that sounds like a yes.
They scored 88 points. They were completely outclassed in this game. Anthony Edwards has to be a lot better. He needs to do something. He didn't do anything in the second half. Randall has to be a lot better. He played one good half and then took one shot, I believe, in the third quarter.
Yeah,
looked completely flustered. Scored a little bit at the end to kind of save his night, but he didn't do anything in the second half. So they're going to have to figure out how they can attack out of these double teams, because OKC is going to make it impossible for Ant to get clean looks. They're going to have him seeing multiple bodies. They're going to be daring all these guys who bricked threes in game 1 to shoot them again in game 2. So absolutely they have to be confident, but also they need to be put in positions where Randall and Anthony Edwards are involved in the same action. So when the ball gets out of Edwards' hands, it's to Randall's hands with a chance to make a play rather than trying to get the ball back to Julius Randle on the other side. Because when he's catching the ball and he's thinking and he's taking his time going against the OKC defense, they just see a gigantic juicy steak and they're ready to go eat it like a Looney Tunes character. I don't know which one it was, but whichever one is most after those steaks, that's OKC when they see Julius Randle pounding the ball. When he's catching the ball and doing something immediately like he was in the first half, not thinking about it, he played awesome.
Yeah.
So he needs to be able to play some more automatic basketball, I think. And Edwards needs to amp up his level of intensity. He didn't really do much in the second half. Maybe healing for a couple of days will help him out. He's usually a pretty indestructible player. But this was a disappointing effort, I thought, from Anthony Edwards, rarely getting inside the OKC defense.
Oh, absolutely. It felt like we're flashing back to game 1 of the Golden State series where Anthony Edwards couldn't hit a shot from inside at all. I mean, he's been pretty poor the entire playoffs shooting at the rim. But in that game, same amount of points that they scored tonight, 88 points for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That being said, it doesn't feel like OKC can play worse. Almost, they did not feel like them for an entire half.
No, they played 2 good quarters.
Yeah,
arguably not even like as the game got out of hand. It was like they played great basketball for 20 minutes.
Yeah, yes,
and ran away with this one.
Yeah, Minnesota needs to make a run from the get-go, and there was a lot of opportunity to do that in the first and second quarters, but they did not.
How many threes did they make in the first half? Did they make 10 threes in the first half?
Oh, I think, yeah.
They were at least close.
Maybe.
Because Randall had 5 himself. And look, they scored 48 points. They had 10 threes and scored 48 points. That's going to be a problem. They're going to have to figure out a way to get close to 110.
Yeah. Looney Tunes character you might be thinking of? Maybe with the steak? Could it be Spike?
Who's Spike?
The dog in Tom and Jerry's sketches.
Okay.
Remember that big old dog? Yeah.
Well, Sesame Street just got signed by Netflix. Got signed. New contract for Sesame Street. I don't know. And can sort of interject himself into Sesame Street.
Spike.
And Julius Randle. Spike. I just think of the pregnant actor on Degrassi High.
God almighty. Your mind is bouncing around.
Well,
you just went from... That's incredible.
Yeah. Yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Spike.
Yeah. Get that on Netflix.
Cawthron Park.
Original Degrassi.
Anyway,
Netflix.ca.
The Minnesota Timberwolves, I suppose they feel like we can recover after a bad game 1. They did against Golden State Warriors. They lost game 1. They scored 88 points. But this is a very much better team in OKC. Again, who had a bad game. They did not look like themselves until they turned it on. This is far better than the Golden State Warriors.
Any random notes from a very funny game 1, at least us where we watched it?
Okay, well,
at the Beer Authority.
Wow, doxing us on night 1.
Sure.
Interesting.
I won't be back for the second game.
I'll continue the dox, actually. Our server said that your face reminded her of her uncle's.
Yeah.
So Skeets, she just literally said, You look like my Uncle Chris.
She was
you
shook.
look like my Uncle
you look
Chris.
a lot like my Uncle Chris. And then I said, oh, is he a cool uncle? She goes, yeah, I don't stay in touch with him, but he is cool. I said, that's good. And then she goes, he lives in Atlanta. And then we all were like, what? I live in Atlanta. Am I your uncle?
I'm Uncle Chris.
Yeah.
A backhanded compliment to Chris. He's cool. I haven't talked to him in years.
The best part of our viewing experience, Dave DeFore ordering hummus.
Dave DeFore ordering hummus.
NBA Daily, and then took down a plate of hummus and then ordered fish and chips. Look, he's coming from the West Coast. Hadn't had a lot to eat.
Hadn't had a snack yet.
But, I guess that was the appetizer, the plate of hummus.
Beautiful crudité. We're talking carrots, cucumbers, and endive. Not to mention pita chips.
The endive's sticking out like a picket fence in that hummus.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to
they're just
and we're back.
Upright. All right. We had a little bit of an issue there.
I liked
We're back. Okay. I didn't
like-
know we were gone.
well, you're luckily blocked from Ash.
Yeah,
So you
okay.
couldn't see the
Right.
pandemonium going on just over his shoulder. I can tell we're maybe rambling a bit here because Ash has cut 2 gigantic yawns.
No shit, man.
Sitting in the
Try
producer
not
chair.
to do that when we're doing the
Yeah.
show.
I really felt like we were killing it when Ash is over here.
Oh my goodness.
But we're back now. I was going to say, I
little
like,
Jan Mahimi over there.
considering the way the night is ending with us three just lounging in bed here, I think it's fitting that the game started with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
That's
It
a
was
good
like this.
point.
He was basically in cuddle mode as well.
They were watching film,
Yeah.
and he was lying like this on the ground.
Let's see
watching
what Mark
film.
has
He's like,
to say.
He's like, oh yeah, let's see that. Run that back, Mark. Oh yeah, nice play. I guess we can defend that better.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was chill. Well, things are falling apart now. And my final note was Jimmy Goldstein was there.
Jimmy was there.
He was dressed in all white from what I could tell. Crowd was wearing white because they're
They
wearing
were.
the white t-shirts. Do you think he planned that?
I bet actually the opposite. I bet Jimmy Goldstein
I agree.
walks in and he's like, everybody's wearing white.
Yeah.
I should have worn my black and gold again.
Totally. I thought the exact same thing. He was like,
Interesting.
damn it.
Do I have enough time to change? I don't know if I brought my other leather hat. I think it's unfair that ESPN kept putting up the graphic that said Battle of the Cousins
Oh,
between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Look, we know who's going to win the scoring battle. Pretty much every single one of these.
right.
But it is cool that they're cousins.
You think they leaned into that a little too much? Though?
Well, I just think it's doing Nickeil a little bit of a disservice. Like they're pitching it. Well, I don't know. Once again, we're only seeing it with our eyes. So we're only tapped in with that
Right.
one sense. But it does feel like, hey, look, these two guys should be going at each other. When we all know that Nikhil's out there to stop Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from scoring more than anything, which he also didn't do.
No.
So what I'm saying is we don't have to pit these two against each other.
Right.
It's just show us the picture.
All right. I wonder if maybe they're like, okay, they like get that all out in game one.
Maybe
you know what
so,
I mean? It's
yeah.
like, okay, now everybody knows they're cousins. It's over. All right. Well, that's game one. That's all I got. And turned into a blowout. It was entertaining there for a good 3/4 or so, but OKC wins 114-88. I'm getting comfy actually.
26
Right now.
point
Hold
blowout, huh?
on. Let me close my eyes for a second.
Yeah. In defense for Ash and now seeing you lie down, it's been a long day.
It has been a long day. We did a podcast already today
Exactly. That's
in another state.
in another state.
When I
Same-
was
same
Uncle
time zone.
when I was Uncle Chris.
Podcasting with Uncle Chris and the boys,
All
the
right.
bed boys.
Well, I got good news for you. Well, wait, you want good news first or bad news first?
Bad. Not bad. I
You want
want
the
bad-
bad news first?
Yeah, I want very bad news.
We're doing this again tomorrow night.
Oh, okay, well, in that case, what's the good news?
We get to go to bed right now.
right now.
Hey, Clipper Bros, hit it.
You heard it here
Ash, stop
first.
yawning.
Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. And remember,
Let's get
there
under.
it is. Under the covers?
Yeah, man.
Oh, no.
What?
That's
Sorry,
this is
JD.
JD's bed.
JD, you can take my room.
Oh, that's a good trade-off.
Why?
See
It's
you tomorrow.
worse than this room. Embrace the night, people.